thank you, Alana, so much for welcoming. And once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as Alana mentioned, today we will be talking about onboarding of SME clients. Onboarding, which is the time when the client decides whether you will join your bank or your company or not. And in the retail segment, we have a great customer experience. For corporate, we have bankers and specialized services. But the SME is somewhere lacking behind. And how to make the greatest customer experience during the onboarding, this we will discuss right now with our panelists, who are Enrique Caballero, EMEA Director, Ever Biometrics. Enrique, come here, join us. Florian Odai, Head of SME Digital Customer Onboarding in CEE at Raiffeisen Bank International. Tomáš Stegura, Head of SME Banking at CSOB Bank, Czech Republic. And Václav Maděnka, Mobile Security and Digital Identity Business Area Leader at Monet Plus. Hello. Yeah. One second. Gentlemen, as I mentioned in the very beginning, onboarding is a crucial moment when clients decide whether they will join your bank or not. And maybe I have first question for all of you. What is so specific in SME client onboarding that the customer experience is not as good as is expected? And maybe we can start from you, Enrique.
Yeah, good. So the customer experience is, I think, is the most important part for gather new customers, right, in the SME banking. What it make the experience easy and convenience is that it's really nice and soft process that once you want to onboard a new client, that you open the application. Sometimes you don't need to open application. You can open this directly from the link that is sent by your bank. And then you have this nice and smooth process to gather all the biometric information that you recognize that the document is real and authentic. And then you can go to the next step into the onboarding process. Nowadays, there are plenty of different solutions in the market, AI generated, power generated. But what makes difficult for the customer to do the onboarding is the rejection. So you try to verify that you are the same person that you are claiming to be with the document, but you get a lot of rejections. And why is that? There are several facts, right? One is, for instance, the AI tool that they are using maybe is not the most advanced. There are other aspects like the racial bias. There are some algorithms. I think the previous panel, they were talking about AI. So AI is everywhere. It's also a part of the digital onboarding. So, but sometimes the tools that they are using, they are not the ones who are able to recognize different demographics. So even if you have the person in front of the camera that you say, yes, I'm a real person, my document is there, so I want to get part of the bank, I want to open a new bank account. So sometimes this is a rejection because the algorithm that is being used in the background is not fully trained with all the different data from the different demographics. So this is the second aspect. And the third aspect, and the most important now, and the big threat is the AI, right? So I think before the panel, they also talk about Gen AI. So this is a big thing because the technology that you are using has to be sure that the person behind of the camera is a real person. So if you don't have all the different tools and all the different processes, so this is making the onboarding of the new customer really difficult.
The AI we will discuss further, but maybe I start in this basic question because we have here two bankers, Florian and Tomas, and I have a question for both of you. It's similar, like even in Czech Republic, it happens that very much of SMEs are using like retail accounts, and it happens. Why is it for them so difficult to onboard, like for like using business accounts? Why is it happening?
Yes, thank you. I will start off with during the introduction, you mentioned the fact that SME onboarding in general is not something that has been tackled, digital onboarding in the markets, and that is strange because we are still talking about one of the main drivers of economies, especially in the Central and Eastern Europe region. The SMEs are the major driver of these economies. Now, for the digital onboarding part, there are numerous challenges. Still, we are talking here about solving probably two major problems. On one side, you have from the customer point of view, you need to tackle the challenges of completing the paperwork, questionnaires, complying with regulatory requirements. But also on the other side, you have the banks, where you also have to tackle issues such as cutting the time to completion, staying competitive, offering the customers an updated version of onboarding them to the bank, because from the perspective of a bank that is operating in several markets, I come from Raiffeisen, we have been here in these markets for several decades, so we are dealing with legacy solutions, legacy core banking systems, and from bank's perspective, this is one really big task to achieve in several markets. The importance to enable these customers a smooth onboarding, digital onboarding, is not limited just to granting them access to the banking system or opening a current account, because the scope is much greater here, much bigger. Here we are talking about onboarding them to all SME banking products and even non-banking products. But as I stated, in comparison to the fintechs and to the newer banks that are operating in these markets, for banks that have been longer in the game, this is one of the main challenges to transition this change of systems and integrations from those legacy solutions to keeping up with the new, more innovative options in the market.
Thank you very much. As I know, in Czech Republic is, for example, Thomas' problem with onboarding of SME clients, simply the paperwork huge, which was already mentioned before, and also the fact that you need to check all the informations. How do you deal with it in CSOB?
Well, good morning to you all. I can say that we deal with it pretty much well, as being the leader in SME onboarding on the Czech market. We were able to leverage several enablers that are present on the Czech market. First being Bank ID system that enables every person who has been identified in person by any bank on Czech market that are part of the Bank ID system, and when they use their credentials towards their electronic banking, they can share the identity across the banking system. So we can actually put people who are in charge of the SME and identify them through the Bank ID system and thus gain their identity. We don't really need to do the biometrics, do other kind of stuff that that potentially has some flaws and can be overcome by technology. We can rely on the security of the whole banking system and an in-person identification. So this is a big boost to be able to overcome the first obstacle, and that's the identification of relevant persons. Then there is second thing where we leverage our ability to connect to state registry, and we can look at the registry of companies and discern who are the owners of the company, and we can do the whole KYC procedure digitally. And so if it's let's say a standard company that's privately held within EU, we can do the whole identification online, check all the AML KYC procedures, and we can invite the company on board to our bank. So the process is well working. We currently we onboard more than 30% of our SMEs purely digitally, which is actually a huge number. And in comparison, to open up a banking account for SME in person, it takes roughly around 45 minutes. And if you do it digitally, you can get under 20, which is a huge benefit for the client as well. So yes, there are some obstacles, but if your environment and state provides decent services that can be accessed digitally, then it gets much, much easier.
But I think that huge advantage of Czech Republic is, as you mentioned in very beginning, that we have Bank ID, which is like very effective digital identity, and we will discuss about like European digital identity further. But I have to ask Vašek. Vašku, you're a tech company, you're a representative of tech company, integrator. So what obstacles do you see mostly during the integration of kind of onboarding technologies in financial institutions?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I think as was already mentioned on the previous discussion, I mean, financial sector banks are largely regulated. So that's the first thing that we need to somehow take into account. The number of regulation that is European-wide, that is national-specific. You have AML, you have PSD2, you have GDPR, number of things that you need to comply to. So that's the first thing. Second thing, you have large number of customers, so potentially large number of frauds happening either by the customers itself or by the third parties. So again, cybersecurity in terms of digital channels is crucial. And you have variety of customers. You have from older person to younger person, you have early adopters, you have late adopters. So again, you need to adapt all your customer journeys to let's say, fulfill the requirements of different persons. You have maybe persons with some disabilities, and again, something that needs to be dealt with. So we're trying to support companies in banking sector, either retail and corporates, with the security layer, with the integration layer, and let them to design the customer journeys to really simply adopt the requirements of the different users and segments they are work with.
Thank you very much. Enrique, you mentioned like the first obstacle, that is the huge amount of rejections during the client onboarding. And I'd like to ask how you can minimize the amount of rejections by using the data. What is the way what bank can do?
Yeah, well, it's a full process, right? So you have the two verticals. So one is the bank. So the bank needs to verify which is the workflow that they are doing to onboard end customers, no SME, end customer, right? So to do this differentiation. So you need to be sure that all the different systems and services are already in place to do the onboarding. So this is from the bank perspective. And then you have the technological perspective as well. So which company you're going to use to do the digital onboarding. Yeah, and how easy is this different technology that you are using to be fully integrated with the banking app, right? So if you put these two together, yeah, it's going to work. But if you don't have a very well workflow in the middle, so even if you have the best technology to do the digital onboarding, if you don't implement this fully with all the different flows inside of the bank, this is where you're going to start getting some rejections. And vice versa as well. So you may have all the best workflows, all the different systems in the bank, but if you don't have the best technology to do the digital onboarding, you're going to have a lot of rejections as well.
I'm pretty sure you discuss it with bankers very often and with banks. So what is the case which happens the most? Where is the obstacles like mostly?
Yeah, so there are different. So for instance, one of them is to identify that the document that you are presenting is a real document, right? And this is also linked with what I was saying. So you need to link this with the workflow from the bank, because you present the document, the technology provider from the document is the best, but if you don't explain to the end customer how he needs to present the document, for instance, so it's going to be not readable by the application. And then you're going to have the customer who is going to get upset, and then he's going to abandon the onboarding process. This is a step number one. And step number two is also when you put the face. So once that you verify the document is real and authentic, now you're going to do the selfie, right? So it's the same. So you need to be sure that you don't have any light in the background or any light in the front, but also you need to explain to the customer, you need to put the phone in front of you, you need to put some instructions as well. So it's the correlation between the customer, the bank, and also the technological provider, right? So if you make the three of them work successfully, so you're going to have less rejection rate. So you're going to have more acceptance by the end customers, and also you're going to have more customers that they're going to be on board into your product, right? Let's say you have Bank A and Bank B. So if you try to onboard with Bank A, even if it's the best in the Czech Republic or in Europe, but if you have this really difficult way to onboard, these customers, they're going to prefer to go with Bank B, even if they are not the best, because you say, it's easy to onboard, it's a really nice experience, so why should I spend my time trying to onboard with a bank that he's rejecting me, no? Maybe he doesn't want me, so you go with Bank B.
That's great, of course, but the problem is that to have great onboarding, you need all those parts together, all those puzzles together. And sometimes there's problem, and it was mentioned many times, like the technology debt, legacy systems, and everything. And we have here representatives of two big banks. So how are you dealing with technology debt, with old legacy systems like in Raiffeisen Bank?
Yes, and I completely agree with Enrique. I mean, here we are talking about doing something to solve the issue of making friction during the customer journey for the SME customer non-existent. So we need to come up with a solution with a simple, quick, and easy to use platform. For SME onboarding specifically, what has been done by other banks and also what we have done and we are continuously doing is we are constantly upgrading the UI UX of the customer journey, of the solutions for customer onboarding, because I think that is one of the main drivers that tackles this pain point of dropping out, of the customers dropping out. What we have done is we have created a really easy to use, intuitive customer journey. And what this initiative has done for us, for the bank, is it has really simplified the process, and it has cut the time to completion from the manual processes that in several countries it used to be from 30 to 60 minutes. It took an hour to just open a current account for an SME company. And what happens now is we have a customer journey that enables the business owner to open the current account in 5 minutes. How did we achieve this? So
exactly, that's what I wanted to ask.
This was not achieved just by building some beautiful solution to look at. This was achieved by combining several components and deep diving into several markets. In Europe, we are dealing with I would say, with a different situation than maybe in the US. We have much more different regulations in different countries that we need to comply with. But apart from that, from the customer point of view, we are also dealing with different cultures, which then impacts the customer behavior. We are operating in some markets where the preferred device for opening an SME current account or acquiring other products for SMEs is a desktop device or a personal computer. But in other markets, which are maybe more digitally mature, we have the mobile as the preferred device. So really, there needs to be a deep market research when building a product for SMEs, be it onboarding or some other digital product. And at the same time, we need to see the capabilities of the service provider, in this case of the bank, or even other third parties. Enrique mentioned the issues with identifying. Basically, there are different providers now serving different markets in EU for video identification, for digital signature, etc. But still, the main point here needs to be that there must not be a friction during the customer journey for an SME customer, and there must be as much as hints and assistance during the journey, so we don't come up with such cases as the customer does not know what document to provide, or similar issues as that.
According to this great success, I have one question. How important for you was cooperation with third parties? Because some banks are doing many things in-house and some work with third parties. How important is for you building ecosystem?
It is one of the more important parts of this whole process, because we are talking about changing customer behavior here, not just offering something new and flashy. So really having a smooth integration of several components, several third parties in a single customer journey is one of the main goals here to achieve. And also in the Central Eastern Europe region, we are also talking about different data sources. In the previous panel, there was mentioned the importance of data with not just within the banking industry overall. And that is one of the other key third parties that I will mention here in these integrations, because there are countries that enable this integration to state-owned registries, but there are also other private vendors that offer the same solution. So it's really important to integrate all these components and leverage these technologies.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
One thing what I know, and when I discussed before the conference with Thomas, is that there's a huge importance of good database of information where you can touch and get all the information about the SMEs. And from Thomas, of your perspective, how do you see that the bank ID helped it? How do you see the situation in Czech Republic? And how do you see that European banking and European identity can help this process to make it smoother, like overall in the whole European Union?
Well, I must say that the bank ID helped immensely. The ability to agree on the whole system like between banks and present it to state and get a approval and support from the state has been a game changer on our market. We have took the idea from the Nordics where a similar system works, and we're able to pitch it to government that it will save people, like all citizens, time and money, which actually became very true. Our citizens can access the state digital services through their banking credentials, and it's actually working, and more than a third of our population are using bank ID systems regularly. So this helps. How the EU ID wallet will help, it remains to be seen, because the idea is a great one. For example, PSD2 idea was a great one as well. You know probably how it ended. The EU ID wallet, it's still a bit unclear how it's going to work and how each and every state is going to implement the solution. So it from banking point of view, it potentially is going to help because it will enable even those people who currently are a bit reluctant to use digital services. It will enable them with a tool to use them across the whole market. What it doesn't really bring is some significant savings. All the banks and all the service providers that are using some kind of identity, they would be forced to accept the EU ID wallet. However, at the same time, they still need to keep their current infrastructure and solution operating, and that just brings costs to the whole system. And to make any system more costly is not really driving revenues forward. I look a bit positively on the EU ID wallet because I do believe that the idea is a strong one. I am a bit afraid of the RTSs and how the whole solution would be put into life. Because if you look at Czech market, there has been an attempt to provide citizens with digital identity. It's called e-dokladovka. It's like a copy of your physical ID just in your mobile phone, and it's not on the same standards as EU ID wallet will be. So it's kind of hard to perceive which of the platforms will prevail, whether both will continue or whether one will die out. We have had to invest a substantial amount of money to be able to handle e-dokladovka on our branches, because despite the fact that it is a digital ID, you can use it only offline, like by presenting it to someone. So you can see that sometimes governments are able to turn a very good idea into a really crappy outcome, and I do hope that EU ID wallet won't be the case.
Thank you very much. When you mentioned the PSD2, Vasek was waving head and smiling, but I know Vasek Monet Plus is very active in like open banking overall, and also you are integrator in many countries. How do you see that open banking helps in the client onboarding, and what differences do you see in the countries like of client onboarding? Because, for example, Florian mentioned that in some countries they prefer like personal computers, in other countries they prefer tablets, iPhones, whatever. So how do you see it?
Well, probably I will just, as Thomas mentioned, I think there was big expectations on the PSD2 that haven't really been achieved. Although the Bank ID in Czech Republic is actually a side effect of the PSD2, because there was, on the other hand, one thing was about opening the business functionality, and the other aspects was about identity. And that was actually the good outcome on the Czech market, and it's been proven really to be a good way to move it forward, even to enable the digitalization of the government agenda, because banks, you guys are investing quite a lot to the identity and the authentication processes. Government is not. You have the user experience. So using the technologies that have the user experience, that they have the ability to interact with the government agencies, the people are simply using it, and the benefit is great. I'm also kind of very expecting the digital identity, European identity movement, especially for all of us who are doing some cross-border interactions. I believe this will help a lot, depending on the implementation, of course. But overall, the idea is great, because we have the experience from the Czech market on the Bank ID. It's proven been working. If the implementation is as the framework is now evolving, it looks good, but we'll see. Maybe one thing I wanted to mention or add to the discussion that we have, I definitely see the e-wallet as an option. At the end of the day, you have different customers, so some of them will use identity wallet, some of them will use biometrics, some of them will use other tools and methods. So at the end of the day, it will be a combination of tools and methods. So I think the good thing is really get a bit back to the start. And before the Bank ID in Czech was implemented, I think ČSOB went through that. They need to consolidate their own digital identity, how they approach the digital identity inside the bank. That was the good first step before opening the whole market agenda. So I think good start point is to have a look at your organization, have a look how you approach digital identity inside, be prepared to open it, but first do the cleanup inside.
Veshku, thank you very much. Our discussion is going slowly to the end, so I have one quick question for all of you. So what will be the biggest game changer in SME client onboarding in upcoming years? We can start from Enrique, but really fast response.
Yeah, the game changer is AI and Gen AI. So this is changing completely everything. So if I compare the discussion that we have last year, so it was completely different, but now everyone is talking about Gen AI, deepfakes, all the different things that are happening, because this is booming actually. So this is a multi-trillion dollar industry. Gen AI is the next big thing in the industry after the internet. This is something that is completely changing everything, and so we need to be prepared, because this is going to come to the banks sooner or later. So we need to be prepared ourselves, because if we don't implement all the countermeasures against all these new threats, so we're going to have some loss, right? So this is what is coming, and this is what is already in the market. So we really need to be sure that we are prepared against all these different things, because they are there already. You can generate a deep fake, even if you are not a technical person, in 5 minutes, and looks real and authentic. So that will be my takeaway for this. So be prepared against Gen AI deepfakes, because this is coming.
Thank you. Florian?
Yes, so AI is the most obvious of the factors that we expect to have an impact on this topic, but also I would just add briefly the generational shift of the customers. Gen Z is coming to the floor. We want everything to be instant. We don't have time to lose. So I think this behavioral shift in the customer, combined with AI, will impact the next direction.
Thomas?
Well, two things. The positive one would be digitalization of state registries across the Europe and their interconnection. The negative one will be increased in general stupidity by people who will expect that Gen AI will solve all their problems. Therefore, they will cease their critical thinking.
Vasek?
Yeah, agree, fully agree. Yeah, only can sum it up. I mean, this is about technology, it's about people, and it's about regulation, and as effectively this is impacting all of these agenda.
Thanks very much for your attention. Thanks very much our panelists. It was Enrique Caballero, Floren Odaj, Tomáš Stegura, and Václav Maděnka.
Thank you.